firstly congratulate the Catholic Women's League for organizing this important event for the women of the Church with the intent to enrich the spiritual and social development of women. I would also like to thank and acknowledge the presence of our parish priest this morning and the gentlemen who are here this morning. The support of men towards a very important gathering like this for women goes a long way in ensuring that the efforts of women become successful. This is true for any gathering that there is. As wives, as mothers, we know in our own homes that without the support of our spouses, it is difficult to attain things. So I'm grateful for the support of men of the Catholic Church towards the annual gathering of the Catholic Women's League. The theme, Connecting in Jesus, Neighbor and Creation, couldn't be more appropriate for an event such as this. We all know how successful this annual meet has been over the years. The theme is a timely reminder to each of us about the importance of focusing on the glue that binds us together. The glue that must continue to connect us, not only during the 3 days in a year when we get to meet, but throughout the other 362 days of the year when we are back in our own communities, our own parishes. Jesus, neighbor, and creation. When we talk about a neighbor in the biblical sense, the parable of the Good Samaritan comes to mind. So to me personally, Jesus and the Good Samaritan epitomize a number of virtues which first and foremost sit on a platform of love and includes compassion, mercy, solidarity, generosity, hospitality, service to others without any discrimination, servant leadership, faith, and all that is good in humanity. And when we think of creation, we think of the earth and all that's on it, under it, above it, the environment around us, and the role of human beings, our role as custodians of all that God has created. The theme therefore calls us as women of faith to be the agents of change in our homes, in our communities, in our parishes, and in our nation. The theme asks that whatever impact we may have in the world around us and on the people that we interact with, that the impact be guided by the virtues portrayed by Jesus Christ and the Good Samaritan. The theme also asks us to be good custodians of God's creation. We must aspire to these virtues, especially now more than ever, when we are faced with the stark realities of climate change and the metamorphosis of social structures that make up the fabric of our society. The Catholic Women's League has come a long way since its inception in 1968, 51 years to be exact. It is indeed an opportune time to reflect on who we are as a body and our role in the development of our members and how we can contribute better to the ethos of the Catholic Church. It is an opportune time to reassess our position as a group in the national women's machinery in Fiji. What is our role? What is our strategic direction? What is our destination? And how do we get there? Answering such questions requires leadership, not any type of leadership. It requires visionary leadership, which considers selflessness and service as critical. A leadership that is rooted in the good virtues of humanity. Like many other voluntary organizations, the Catholic Women's League has not been immune to stories of poor management practices and a lack of strategic direction. I'm encouraged by discussions I have had with the current executives of the Catholic Women's League and their thoughts on putting together a strategic plan for the League and to review the draft constitution for adoption at a later date. To this end, I give the full support of the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation and my personal commitment to assist in whatever way we can to help your executives put in place these two important documents for your organization. The Catholic Women's League has been a partner of my ministry under the Fiji Women's Federation advisory body for years now. Together, we have not only economically empowered members of the Catholic Women's League, but also been involved in some of their administrative processes. And in return, the Catholic Women's League has been an important contributor in our consultations in terms of reporting on our international treaty and local policy obligations. As executives of the Catholic Women's League, you are custodians of wealth for the women represented here. You're leaders, and they look up to you with a quiet expectation that you undertake the duties you have been given as office bearers to the best of your abilities, and with a concomitant belief that you will always keep their best interests and those that come after them in mind when carrying out your duties. It is imperative that you be transparent always in your dealings with your membership, and that your members are given the mechanism to hold you to account at any given time. That is not an easy cross to bear, but one that is inherent in your duties as office bearers. This annual meeting is a great platform for networking, fun, and sisterhood. Please do not lose sight of the fact that it is also the greatest platform within the umbrella of the Church to hear the voices of your membership at one sitting. As executives, you need to make this 3-day annual gathering a safe space for your members to talk about issues that are critical to them. You need to encourage and amplify their voices during this annual event and let their voices be the compass for your strategic plan. Members need to be able to voice their opinions without fear of being ostracized by other members or by the executive. Having a difference of opinions is healthy, but it takes great visionary leadership to ensure that a common understanding is reached, an understanding that strives to unite rather than divide. In a nation that is a signatory to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW as it is called, the Catholic Women's League needs to assert itself as a critical component of the national women's machinery under the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation, given the thousands of women that you represent, women of all ages with different social and economic backgrounds connected through the one faith. Each of you has a unique role to play in the destination that the Catholic Women's League seeks to reach through your strategic plan. And by virtue of that, each of you has a role to play in the work of the national women's machinery through the Catholic Women's League. To that end, I ask that your strategic direction be inclusive of the diversities that exist in your membership, not only across socioeconomic backgrounds, but more particularly across different ages. One thing we encourage through the ministry's work is the formation of voluntary women's groups at community level to become the conduit for gender equality advocacy and carry out empowerment programs for women. I have found that in most cases, young women continue to be excluded from membership. I know that such an exclusion is not by design, but more probably because of the relevance of the activities carried out, and more importantly, because of the chasm that evidently exists between different generations, which may not have been intentionally created. On that note, I would encourage the leadership of the Catholic Women's League to consider the establishment of a young women's chapter of the League, which could become a strong advocate for the values of the Catholic Women's League and the Catholic Church, through programs and initiatives which are meaningful to the younger generation of your membership. There is no doubt that among UN member states, including Fiji, that for the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 to be achieved, women must be at the front and in the center. The 2013 Constitution guarantees equal rights to all Fijians, including women, with the political will of government reflected in its international obligations like CEDAW and the budgetary allocation towards the national women's machinery to implement the objectives of CEDAW. Gender has been formally incorporated in our National Development Plan under the theme of empowering women to reach their full development potential. The National Gender Policy complements this by aspiring to promote gender equality in all aspects of development in Fiji by eradicating institutional and social barriers to equality. Our ministry has strengthened its ties with stakeholders, including faith-based organizations, with the recognition of the fact that gender is a cross-cutting issue and requires partnerships to counter inequality and discrimination. With government doing its part in the form of policy making and government-funded programs for women's development, I wish to reiterate at this juncture the important role that faith-based organizations like yours play in women's empowerment. We need to understand that women's full and equal participation in decision-making and in the economy is critical for ending poverty, for achieving economic growth, and ensuring peaceful communities. I'm sure that a lot will be learned and achieved over the next few days by attendees, and the next few months by your executives, especially in pursuing the compilation and completion of the strategic plan and the revised constitution of the Catholic Women's League. May you all progress in faith, solidarity, and love. As much as you can, take along women who may not have the same strength as you, as the Catholic Women's League embarks on a new strategic journey. With these words, I wish you the very best in all your deliberations and endeavors, and for the rest of the meet. Vuniwaqa.